It's David Arquette, Dewey from the Scream movies, as you know. Remember, there's only one rule to surviving a horror movie, and that's subscribing to Craven Something Scary.
Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, visitors, subscribers, patrons, and of course, my amazing channel members, otherwise known as my Cravenites. Welcome to Craven Something Scary, where it's all horror all the time. Well, guys, tonight it is a very special Saturday night stream because of our amazing guest who's joining us tonight and is so generous to give us of his time for a full hour. We got him for a full hour, guys. So whenever he comes on, be sure and let him know in the chat how much you appreciate him, as I know you do. And this is going to be a lot of fun. Before we get into it, though, just want to remind everyone, as you see on the bottom of the screen, do submit your questions or comments for John now regarding Scream 5. Be sure and send those in, and we'll get to as many as possible. However, as you know, because of restraints of time, and we're going to be very respectful, of John's time. So it's going to move quickly, and I have a lot of questions, and you guys have questions. So if you want to make sure that your question or comment does get to John, you do have a way to do that. You can simply send a super chat in, and I promise you that all super chats move to the front of the line. And I will not end the stream until all of them are covered with John. I pledge you that, okay? So you have that opportunity to do it. And if you do, not only are you getting your question answered by John personally, but you're helping the channel out to keep the lights on. And I appreciate that. All right, everybody. Blanket hello to everyone in the chat. I see you here. So glad you're here tonight. Shout out to Sarah Campbell, who's here moderating the chat. And Sarah, thank you for what will be another amazing job. Sarah will be posting links to John's Instagram and his website throughout the stream. So be sure and go follow him over on Instagram and bookmark his website. It's really cool. It's got some clips. It's got a lot of great information about John and his career. So don't miss it. Well, guys, Scream 5. Yes, Scream 5. We are going there with the man who himself was in charge of the stunts, the stunt coordinator. And I've got questions. You've got questions. We're going to have a great time as we kind of peel the onion back to look at Scream 5 at a closer look than we had the opportunity to do to this point. I'm excited. So without further ado, please welcome the stunt coordinator for Scream 5, John Copeman. John, welcome.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Yes, it's my pleasure. And thank you again for making the time to do this. I truly appreciate it. Seriously, we all do in the chat as well.
Yeah, no worries, man. I'm a huge film fan. So getting to do this is actually pretty cool.
Fantastic. Well, thank you, man. Real quick, I just want to acknowledge Gina over at My Chunky Jewelry has gifted a membership to the channel. Thank you so much for that, Gina. It's much appreciated. And for being a loyal Cravenite for 23 months. You've been a channel member. She says, I'll try to pop in because she lives way over in the UK. Love you, Craven. Well, thank you, Gina. Seriously. You know how much I appreciate your support and you're always being here and you're just awesome. So thanks, Gina. All right. So keep your super chats coming in, guys. I see Paula sent one. We'll get to it shortly. But John, here's what I'd like to do. Before we get into Scream 5, what I always find fascinating is kind of where it all began. So I would love it. Could you just share maybe when you realized in your life you had a passion for stunt work, film work, and that you made a choice that this was going to be what you're going to go after for your career? I'd love to hear that.
So I was always a film fan, especially horror films. I think in 1980, I decided, I want to be a stuntman. Well, I lived and live in Wilmington, North Carolina, and there was no film industry here. So my two choices were New York or Los Angeles. Went to the guidance counselor and asked about film schools. Didn't exist here in town. So I graduated, and the year I graduated was the year they built De Laurentiis Film Studios in Wilmington. It was between Wilmington and Charleston.
Okay.
And I graduated summer of '83, and I was an extra on Wilmington's first film, which was Firestarter.
Fantastic. Yes.
And met some of the LA stunt guys, met Dick Warlock. Again, we knew who Dick Warlock was even in 1983. And, the guys told me it could take 5 to 10 years for your phone to even begin to ring.
Wow.
And I was like, no way. Well, I retired from bartending 10 years later. So it took me 10 years before I could really get self-sufficient with film work.
Man.
And just, picked up jobs. The Crow was actually the job that let me stop bartending because I was on it for about a month and a half. And then, I just playing stuntman, started getting coordinating jobs, which was a little early in my career to get them. But it was more movies of the week. There wasn't heavy action. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention Peter Boccosi, my mentor from New York. He gave me a career.
Wow.
And if you look up Peter, you'll just be amazed at everything he worked on. Sopranos, New York-based films, but New York, New Jersey. But Peter kind of taught me the business. He gave me a career.
Wow.
And then, just kept hustling and getting work and making contacts. And it's kind of been my journey. So I started as an extra. I was probably an extra for 5 years. I would call the extras casting company, Fincannon and Associates, weekly and ask them what's going on because I just wanted to get on set to meet the stunt guys.
There you go. Right.
But I was a driver, PA, special effects assistant on King Kong Lives. I operated one of the eyebrows, I think.
Nice.
And just did everything I could to get on set. And then once I got on set, I could pass out my headshot resume and get told, no, I can't use you. And on to the next one.
Wow. Hustle, right? That's
and that's the good thing. Hustle's not a bad word. It just means you're going after work.
Right. Exactly. And that's what I mean. And from other conversations I've had, John, with your fellow peers, that's a common theme that seems to run through those who've been really successful is you just don't stop grinding. And like you say, just get on set any way you can to meet people. And if you don't have thick skin, right, and perseverance, it's going to chew you up, right? Is that right?
Yes. The saying, God, family, country. Well, mine was film. Everything else in my life was secondary.
Wow.
So I probably had an unhealthy obsession with it. But, it did pay off. So
it did.
Managed to have a career. My nephew got into business, and now my daughter is actually starting to get into business, and she's starting to see the upside and the downside of when you get called for work. 5 minutes later, you get called and told, I don't need you now. And it's just, the craziness of the business.
Wow. I can only imagine. And you've had such a career. Seriously, man.
Thank you.
There's a lot of films we could talk about tonight other than Scream 5. Trust me, guys. It's amazing. And you don't have that longevity without a reputation and credibility. This is the only way. And says a lot to your work ethic, John, and your passion for what you do.
Yeah, I've been lucky. Like David Hartley is a producer I've worked with for 25 years. David did, Dawson's Creek, One Tree Hill, which aren't big action films, right? But he brought me in to coordinate them, and I'll always be grateful to him for keeping me busy.
Man,
So yeah, I got to meet
Yeah.
producers. I got to stay on shows for the length of them. 6 years of Dawson's. I think One
Nice.
Tree Hill had 9 seasons. I only did 7, but still,
Ooh, that's still a lot.
yeah, you get to
Yeah.
meet a lot of people,
That's right. Wow.
and hopefully they
Okay.
like your work.
Well, let's fast forward a bit now. And how did the whole opportunity come about to work with Scream 5, Radio Silence? How did that all come together to work with Matt and Tyler and to have you oversee the stunts?
So they started before COVID hit, and they had
Mhm.
already hired a stunt coordinator.
Okay.
And then COVID shut the world down.
Sure.
World opens back up, and I had gotten a call to maybe coordinate. What's the Stars show about dope? Not high
Oh,
something.
yeah, I'm blanking out. Yep.
Anyway, I got called to possibly coordinate that.
Okay.
And then I heard they started interviewing some other people for Scream because the original coordinator was going to go do something else.
Mhm.
Well, my name didn't get thrown in the mix. They
Okay.
interviewed a couple of other local guys, and I guess just didn't like their interviews. I knew the
Mhm.
first AD, and he had kind of been pushing my name. So I got the
Nice.
call on a Sunday morning. Can you come in and meet Matt and Tyler and the producers tomorrow? I said, yes.
Wow. Heck yeah.
Can you send me the script? Because I wanted
Okay.
to read it to get an idea of what they were going for.
Mhm.
Signed an NDA, got to read the script.
Oh,
But I told the
good.
producer outright, say, look, the Stars job kind of has right of first refusal because I didn't commit to them, but I told them I would try to keep them priority. I went in and interviewed with Matt, Tyler, Chad, Ron Lynch, the producer. I'm at
Mhm.
one end of this table and they're all around at the other end. And this is, I think, the first job where my film geekness enthusiasm ever helped me. Because we were talking about specific kills and specific films. So I went home that night and the first AD kind of texted me and said, I think they liked you. Let's see what happens. And then 8 o'clock that night, I got the offer. The job's yours if you want it. And I was like,
Wow.
absolutely. So
Fantastic. I bet that was a thrilling phone call.
for
Man.
myriad of reasons, the fact that the world had been shut down, we
Yes.
all want to get back to work, and it's Scream 5. I had worked with Kevin Williamson
Oh, sure.
peripherally, but hi,
Yeah.
hello. But on Dawson's, on Vampire
Mhm.
Diaries, I did 4 seasons of that.
Okay.
So there was some connection there.
Yeah.
That was pretty cool.
Yeah. Very awesome. Now, speaking of the script, when you read that script for Scream 5 and you saw what the stunts were going to be, the kill scenes, what is your personal process to prepare mentally? Like, okay, here's what it says on paper. Now I've got to bring this fight scene or this attack scene to life. Do you have a process that you do to kind of map that out and how it's going to look?
Yeah, I'll break down a scene and I'll put what I
Okay.
think's required for it.
Okay.
What gear, how much rehearsal time or how much rigging time.
Mhm.
Scream 5 wasn't that heavy. When Ghostface and Sydney fall over the rail, we had
Right.
talked about doing it on a wire
Okay.
because they had built the house on stage 10 and there was
Mhm.
plenty to rig from in the ceiling. They didn't want to take the time on the day to do a wire rig. So
Wow.
we decided it would be a flip over the rail into cardboard boxes.
Okay.
The fire burn, we kind of knew that was going to happen, but
Mhm.
I didn't know if we needed to make a prosthetic mask that looked like Mikey Madison.
Yeah.
And then just in talking to Matt and Tyler, they kind of told me, here's what we want to do. If you have a better way to do it, let us know. But we're going to kind of keep it not simple, but
Okay.
setting up the cardboard boxes would have probably been the
Mhm.
same time as doing a wire rig because the rig would already have been set up. But they just, hey, we don't want to do a wire rig. We'll just do an old fashioned fall into boxes.
Oh
So yeah, I
gosh.
just break
Okay.
everything down. I get the doubles. I'll show the
Yeah.
directors what doubles I'm thinking of using.
Mm-hmm.
And we prevised a lot on Scream 5. We would
Okay.
go in and shoot a scene, and we'd kind of go off their rough storyboards, but it was more to show them the choreography.
Got
But,
you.
I edit, I put music in, I put sound effects just to give it some flavor to
Mm-hmm.
get us. We did a ton of previs on that, and both Matt and Tyler were really good guys to work for because they were appreciative. And if they didn't like something, they could tell you why they didn't like it, but you're
Okay.
kind of going in the right direction. So try to do this or try to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah. And then we
Okay.
got rehearsal time with the cast. We called it fight camp, just learning how to miss with a rubber knife. And
Mm-hmm.
if you're using a rubber knife, a lot of the times it's broken off and they'll put the blade in post. So we had to
Okay.
show how to hit and go through flesh and then go faster.
Yes.
Just the performance beats of killing. And that was
Sure.
mainly Mikey and Quaid.
Yes.
But
Yes.
yeah,
Okay.
I do my breakdowns, have meetings, and then
Okay.
we decide, we'll do it this way. No, we'll do it that way. And yeah, always
Nice.
very prepared.
Oh
We
man.
knew what we were doing before we got to set.
There you go. Man, that's awesome. I'm gonna ask you some more specific questions later about kills, some of the kills in the movie. So we're gonna come back to some of that. Now you mentioned this a little bit to me before we went live, but I'm gonna ask it for everyone to get the knowledge. What was the average shooting schedule like for you in the film? Because when you just told me a minute ago, I was like, that is insane. But share with the audience, if you would, about your shooting schedule, like an average day.
You can usually plan on a 12-hour day. That's kind of the
Okay.
norm. We did French hours on Scream, which means we didn't stop for lunch, but we tried to keep it at 9 or 10 hours. So
Oh, wow.
the
Okay.
crew could break for lunch and the cast would break for lunch, but a lot of the times you put your order in the morning, they'd
Mm-hmm.
bring you a box lunch on set. And that was just to try to facilitate getting the work done quickly, because it was COVID. So it was a whole new world to
Mm-hmm.
navigate. As a
Wow.
stunt coordinator, in a feature, it's a little different, but in like episodic TV, I think on Vampire Diaries for 4 years, my average day was 14 to 16 hours
Man.
because you're prepping the next episode and then you're still working on set the shooting episode. So yeah,
Yeah.
it can be a grind. Scream wasn't too bad. We
Okay.
didn't have a ton of nights, so it was mainly day work.
Yeah, because a lot of the finale, well, actually, the entire finale was on the sound stage where they can control the lights.
Yep.
So it was like nighttime, but it really wasn't. It could be in the middle of the afternoon.
Yep.
Right. Okay. Let's see here. Before I go on with my questions, let's get to the chat, and we'll get back to it. First of all, Jeff Hill coming in and gifting a membership. Thank you, Jeff. Another membership has been gifted to the channel. I appreciate you always supporting the community, buddy. And let's see, we have a question here that actually is one of mine as well. But Paula sending in a $2 super chat to support the channel. Paula, thank you. Says, what was your most dangerous stunt you had to plan? And I'll say even plan and execute. I'll add to it.
On Scream 5
On
specifically?
Scream 5. Yes.
The burn or the
Mm,
two people flipping over the rail. We also had a
yep.
two-person stair fall. So
True.
danger is, kind of relative. The flip over the rail could have gone bad. You've got two people falling 15, 18 feet.
Man.
Paul Burke was Ghostface at the time, and he was effectively blind. So
True.
when he did his stunt, he was basically going off of muscle memory. So yeah, that and the stair fall were just dangerous because it's two people involved versus one.
Makes sense.
The
Yeah.
fire burn, if you prep it correctly, it is a pretty smooth stunt to do.
Okay.
Jennifer Badger doubled Mikey Madison for that. And again, we'd prepped her clothes. I had my safety guys. We had the extinguishers. So that one wasn't that dangerous because she was so protected. And we knew we'd never see her face. So she could wear a burn hood.
Okay.
So yeah, those three were probably the most dangerous on the film.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Makes sense. I mean, that's like you say, it opens up more margin for error or injury, more than error and injury. And that burn scene is great, by the way.
Oh, yeah, thank you. We were happy with it. As short as it was, Jennifer
Right.
did a really good job with the performance.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny, when I interviewed for Scream 5, I had asked them just, what direction are you guys going? Is it Scream meets John Wick? Is he now what? They're like, no, we're going old school, back to the kills. But Scream 6 is what I wish Scream 5 had been, because they had a ton of rigging. They had a bunch of wire work, some uber violent kills. So it was, yeah.
You're like, dang.
Yeah.
I can understand. You're right. It was a lot more brutal and over the top stuff going on.
Yep.
Jeff Hill coming in with a $5 super chat. Thank you, Jeff. He wants to ask you, how many years have you been in the business?
So my first job again was 1983 as an extra on Firestarter.
Okay.
So I've been making a living since 93, but I've been in the business since 83. So going on 40 years.
Incredible. Wow. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, a little over 40 years.
Over like 42 years, if my math is right.
Yeah.
Wow.
But again, I started making a living in 93. So it depends on which gauge you go by.
Either way, incredible length of time and just
been very lucky.
Wow, that's incredible. Jeff, thanks for the super chat and for the great question. Appreciate that. Let's go ahead and do another super chat. Then we're going to get back to some questions. So Sarah and Stella G, I see you lined up next. So hang tight, Sarah, excuse me. One of my moderators, great friend of the channel. She's an awesome person. Thanks for the super chat for $5. Says, thanks for joining us tonight. How did it feel being nominated for a Primetime Emmy for The Righteous Gemstones? Great work.
So I didn't even think we'd get the nomination. I had submitted, I think, Vampire Diaries a couple of times for the SAG Awards and the Emmys, and we never got the nomination. And then I was on my back porch just getting ready to go surf, and I get a text that said congratulations, and it was from one of the stunt guys that had worked on it.
Oh, wow.
So it was mind-blowing. I was truly like, wow, this doesn't feel right. But I got to take my whole family out there, and it was good. It was a good event. It was a good experience. I would be a liar if I said I wanted to win. But
of course, yes.
Just as cliched as it is, just getting the nomination was, kind of a bucket list thing to check off.
Oh, yeah, that's huge. And congratulations, by the way.
Thank you.
That's incredible accomplishment to get nominated, man. Wow. Thank you, Sarah, for your super chat and great accolades for John. Well deserved. All right. Okay. You know what, Stella? I'm going to go ahead and bring yours up now. Stella G with the $5 super chat. This is a great question too. With everything needing so much planning, on average, how much time do you have from the time you're hired until the time you start filming a movie?
So it varies. Typically, depending on the size of either the movie or the TV show, I'll start 2 or 3 weeks out from production, get the scripts, break them down, have meetings. If you have to start rehearsing, I might start a month out. It just really depends on the project. Typically, they'll start a coordinator at least 3 weeks out just so it can meet all the players and start having meetings with the director, producers to decide, how we're doing, what's written,
Okay.
So yeah, it varies. It really just depends on the project.
Yeah. Okay. But even 2 or 3 weeks sounds so fast. That seems so quick. Oh
Yeah.
man.
It's Scream was good. We had adequate time, but it was again,
Great.
it was a different world. Just
It was. You're right. It was for everybody. It was so weird, so different than what we were all used to.
yep.
Stella G, thanks again for the great question. I think that was very good. And thanks for your super chat, of course, helping out the channel as well. So we mentioned a little bit earlier about Matt and Tyler. So just real quick, I want to jump backwards there and ask, like, how would you describe their directing style? Like, because everyone has a different style. And how would you describe it, your interaction in terms of them like directing you or the stunt performers for specific scenes? What would you say was their vibe, if you would, on set?
Super nice guys.
Okay.
Very prepared. Um,
Yeah.
never got heavy on set. The mood was always light, and that's a big part of it. If you create
Mm-hmm.
stress through just bullshit things versus
Mm-hmm.
let's get the work done, but we're not doing intensive brain surgery here. And I don't mean that
Yeah.
the industry and filmmaking isn't a tricky and technical thing, but we're getting paid to pretend.
Yeah.
Good guys. I would always shoot a previs, and they were always quick about getting back to me with notes. And the notes would be change this or redo that.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, really good guys. I enjoyed the
Okay.
process a lot with them. In fact, I was begging to get on Scream 6, but it was in
Oh
Canada,
man.
and I knew my phone
Yeah.
wouldn't ring for that. So,
Yeah. That's too bad. It would have been awesome to have
yeah,
you
but
back.
that whole team was good. Rudy Persico, the first AD, the DP, everyone on set was good. There was never really any tension.
Okay.
Yeah, good guys to work for.
Nice. Good. I'm glad to hear that because you never know. I've heard of, some directors that are really overbearing and really just micromanaging to the point where they're like like strangling you sometimes. And so it's nice to hear that they were not like that. It was a good experience. That's great.
The first, the opening scene with Tara.
Yes, which I'm going to get to next, by the way. But go ahead.
Well, I wanted to see if the boys had a sense of humor. So we
Okay.
shot the previs, and then I sent them a second one saying, here's an alternate version of the opening kill.
Okay.
So Tara's on the ground, Ghostface is standing above her. You see the police lights,
Mm-hmm.
the cops are there. So we cut the sound. You see Ghostface take his mask off to about right here. And then it cuts back to Tara, and she looks up and goes, "Oh, you got to be effing kidding me." And we pan up, and it's Michael Myers.
Oh my God.
So it
No
was
way.
one mask to reveal the shape is Ghostface. And they got back to me. They were, "Oh, this is brilliant. It's very funny. Thank you." So
Yes.
once I saw that somewhat sense of humor, I was like, "Okay, cool. These guys are going to be easy to work for."
You right? That's awesome.
Yeah,
Do you have that clip anywhere? Do you still have that clip?
I do.
No. Oh my gosh.
I
That
could,
would be something else. I would love to see that in sometime.
all right, I'll send it to you.
Oh, thank you. That's great. Um, and that actually kind of leads me to where I was actually going to head next anyway. And when she was talking about some of the specific kills in Scream 5, and I do want to start with the opening attack. Right? We know she survived, but I want to see with Jenna Ortega, obviously brutally attacked by Ghostface. And I wanted to ask about you. What was your view and perspective from the inside as the coordinator of that opening scene, which is so pivotal to the whole movie, really? And I would love to know how it all came together because it looks great and it was performed wonderfully.
Again, we had our rehearsal with the stunt doubles just to
Yes.
show them the choreography.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think we got some rehearsal time with Jenna.
Okay.
And the issue was I wanted Ghostface to really just ragdoll the hell out of her. But we were
Mm-hmm.
shooting in a practical location, somebody's house. So we
That's
couldn't
right.
really auger into the furniture. So we still had to be respectful of the location,
Mm-hmm.
but still give them the performance.
Yeah.
And a lot of actors want to do their own work. And a lot of the times, I mean, she was a minor at the time, so
That's right.
we had to
Yes.
be careful with, even though she physically could do it,
Mm-hmm.
getting thrown to the ground if you don't do it correctly can hurt and you
Yeah.
can injure yourself. So I think we might have used the double a couple of times, but we would rehearse it and pre-visit, and we used hilts, so half the blades missing, or we had
Okay.
foamies anytime there had to be a lot of swinging. We would pad the cast up, knees, elbows, hips, whatever we could get on.
Mm.
And then it's just, I think Ghostface for that. I don't remember if it was Marcel Coletti or Keith Ward.
Okay.
Or it might have been Paul, because I think that was at the end of production. Because the day we were going to shoot that, 3 people popped hot for COVID.
Oh,
So
no.
all of a sudden it's big panic mode, and one of them was Ghostface. So, but it turns out it was a false positive, and just
Oh, good.
yeah.
So you shot that scene at the end, then,
If
right?
memory serves me right, I think it was towards the end of the schedule.
Wow. Okay. Well, it was great. And look, I have to ask you. I know it's movie magic. I think I have a decent idea of how this thing works. But the knife through Tara's hand, just whenever Ghostface stabs the hand, can you just walk me through practically what's happening there from a practical effects perspective?
I think we had a soft stubby, so
Okay.
the blade was only that long, and it was had foam on it.
Okay.
So bring your hands up, and I think the stunt Ghostface just stabbed down.
Mm-hmm.
We might have also done that impact in reverse, and then switch the film just to make it a little more violent.
Yes.
And then I think the visual effects guys came in with their magic and put trackers on and measurements, and then they just put the blade in post. We did our pre-viz. We also put the blade in post. It was cheesy, but it worked.
Well, I'll tell you this: the scene is very effective, and it just that whole opening sequence was brutal.
Yeah.
And then it was breaking her ankle, just stepping. I'm like, dang, this is. I mean, this poor girl is getting it from every angle.
Yeah, we on the previs for that, I told the stunt double to wear the same jeans and then bring in just another pair of jeans, and we just stuffed it with foam and did such a quick cut and put in the sound effect that it's pretty much the way they did it in the film.
Mm-hmm.
But that was all sound design.
Oh man. Wow. Amazing how all these elements, guys, and the audience, how all of this works together to make that scene brilliant. It's just incredible. Sure. Wow. Now I've got to turn my attention to the only one kill in the movie that hurts me to my core, and it's the death of Dewey Riley. And oh man, I'm literally a grown man in the theaters crying like a baby, taking the napkins from my popcorn and covering my face because I'm crying. It just hit me to my core. But before we discuss the scene, the sequence, I would love to show everyone the exclusive clip that you sent me behind the scenes of the Dewey shooting Ghostface. So, guys in the audience, this is something you're not going to see anywhere else. And John provided me this amazing clip, and it's short, but it's powerful to see behind the scenes how it's done. So, guys, check this out. We'll be back in 7 seconds. Here we go.
Action.
Wow. Wow.
So we did that one time.
Okay.
They were so happy with how everything fell into place. I doubled Arquette for that. I didn't need to, but
Ah.
that was real glass.
Oh,
Um,
really?
yeah.
Oh.
So, but you use tempered glass, and what you do is you put a little electronic popper on each corner. So if you look at it
Okay.
and frame it
Okay.
frame by frame, which I used to do, you can see the glass break before he hits it. So he's essentially falling through broken glass.
Okay.
But yeah, that was a good one. We got it in one, and that was Keith's last stunt on the film.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow. That was it, man. And that's incredible. One take. I know I imagine in the film business, that's not, that doesn't happen all the time to do one take and done, right? Like the first take, especially, right?
Yeah, typically with action, even glass, you try to get it on the first one because
Mm-hmm.
9 times out of 10 you're getting cut because it is still real
Oh,
glass. Keith,
yes,
luckily,
true.
he was covered head to toe, so I don't think he got anything. But
Oh, wow. Man, incredible. And here's a still shot. Um, let's see here. Believe this is it. Yeah, look at that, guys. That is now. So are you taking now right now, is that you as Dewey, John? Is
yes,
that you on the floor?
yes.
Okay. So there we go, guys. There's John as Dewey.
And it wasn't
Um,
because Arquette couldn't do it. It was just we knew we weren't going to see his face. Um,
right.
and if I got cut, so be it. And Arquette's an insanely tough guy. I mean, the wrestling he did.
That's true.
So he could have done it. It was just why put him there because you're not
Yeah.
going to see him. And if he gets cut and we have to shut down on a shot that you never saw his face, then there's going to be hell to pay.
Oh gosh, yes. And luckily for you, no issues, right? No glass coming back on you here.
Yeah, no, it was good.
Okay.
And
All
I'm
right.
looking for the Michael Myers clip. I'm not ignoring you.
Oh, no, that's okay, man. That's okay. And we're going to talk about something real special here, guys. So all you Halloween fans, definitely don't, be sure you stay for the entire stream because we got something real special that John shared with me before we came on live, and you guys are going to love it. um, Now, oh, there we go. There it is. We're debuting it. Now, John, tell us exactly what that is. If you could share it a little bit longer, if you could, because we got some rabid Halloween fans in the audience. So
So
tell us what. Here we go. Go
this is a
ahead.
mask I bought from the back of Fangoria magazine in 1982 or 3 from Don Post Studios. So it's
Wow.
probably pulled from the Captain Kirk molds.
Mm-hmm.
It was $75, and at the time, that was all the money I had. And I
Yeah.
met Dick Warlock, who all you guys know was Michael Myers in Halloween 2, as
Yep.
well as the stunt coordinator. He was one of the stunt guys on Firestarter. So he
Mm-hmm.
let us take him to lunch, and he signed all of our memorabilia, and he signed the mask, which is still legible some 40 years
Wow.
later. So,
Incredible. Look
and
at
I
that, guys.
reestablished a relationship with Dick about 3 years ago, and I brought this to the convention to show him. So it was, yeah, it was very cool.
That is awesome. And at the end here, we can talk a little bit. Or actually, you know what? Yeah, how about just if you want to just give a short description of what we talked about earlier regarding Dick Warlock, I think that everyone would love to hear that. What's going on right now?
So myself and 2 friends were extras on Firestarter.
Mm-hmm.
And at the time, there were no horror conventions.
Yep.
We're wandering around base camp and we see the name Dick Warlock on one of the rooms. So we immediately knew who it was. Kurt Russell's stunt double,
Mm-hmm.
Michael Myers, Halloween 2, The Dead Zone, Jaws. He doubled Hooper in The Cage. And he was blown away that these 3 young local kids who were doing extra work knew who he was and what he had done. So he let us hang out on set for about a week. When they blew up the shop, got to see all the stunts. The week went by and I didn't think I'd ever see him again. Kevin Dennis, who's my co-author, we're actually writing a book on Dick Warlock. It's more a photo book. Had been going to the
Nice.
conventions and reestablished a relationship with Dick. So
Mm-hmm.
we went to one of the conventions in Charlotte, North Carolina, and I had just been nominated for an Emmy. So I was telling Dick all this and thanked him for being such a big influence on my career and for basically just being nice to three extras. And Dick was really
Yeah.
touched by that. And we ended up going back and forth. He said he'd been trying to write a book, and neither Kevin nor I are writers, no conceit that we are, but Kevin's a cameraman for live sports.
Mm-hmm.
And I, do stunts. So like, we could put together a picture book though. So
Yeah.
we've got a publisher. We got Kurt Russell to write the foreword because Dick doubled Kurt for 30 plus years, starting at Disney.
Wow.
And went to his house and scanned 400 or 500 photos. So now we're just trying to get it edited, and
Yeah.
we have a publisher, someone that's interested. Bear Manor Media has said they're interested in it. So now we just got to get it
Wow.
done.
Yes. Oh, I will. I'll be the first to get one. I think there'll be. I would love to read that and see that, all those images. Just incredible, man.
Yeah, we
So,
were just amazed for a film fan, just looking
yeah,
at all the pictures that Dick had.
man.
Yeah, it was.
Wow. Yes, that's a fan. I'm so again. Congratulations, man. That's
Oh, thank you.
such an awesome project. Really, it is, man. I would absolutely love to see that. And so when I'll be in touch with you as time goes, because once that gets closer to being done, I will be putting my pre-orders in. Let me tell you.
Yeah, and the
For sure.
title of it is "The Shape of My Career."
Oh, cool.
So
I
at least
like it.
that's the working title. Who knows if it'll change?
Oh man. Now let me ask you this: as far as working with the cast members, how was that? What was that like? Is there, 'cause you had, some young people like you mentioned, with Jenna Ortega, Melissa Barrera is a little older than her, but not a ton. Jack Champion, I'm sorry, I mean Jack Quaid. Jack Champion's a Scream Six. Jack Quaid. Just overall, just what was it like with the actors, and of course the legacy cast with Nev Campbell and Courtney Cox.
Yeah, everyone was really good.
Hmm.
I was, I got to meet Mikey Madison, not knowing she'd
Yep.
be an Oscar winner, but it was just, I was blown
Right.
away that she'd worked with Tarantino. So I was
Hmm.
picking her brain about that. I'm like, wow, you're getting set on fire, another film. This is going to be your thing.
Exactly.
Big fan of Huey from The Boys, so getting to work with Jack Quaid.
Hmm.
But yeah, it was good. Arquette didn't really want to double because he knew he could do it all. But we walked
Yep.
through the choreo, showed it to him, and then he brought his ideas. Let's do this instead of that. And then
Okay.
I don't think I did any of the fight that got filmed. I think David did it all.
Hmm.
Courtney and Nev were really good. Melissa was tricky because she would never wear pads because a lot of her clothes were really tight.
Yeah, that's true.
But the knee pads that I use are for figure skaters, so they're really low profile. But
Okay.
she would just refuse. I don't need pads. I don't need pads. She's in the makeup trailer one day, and her knees are all bruised to hell. And the producer comes up to me and is like mad at me, like, "What's going on?" Why? I said, "We offer her pads ad nauseum every day." After that, she started putting the pads on. So, and I don't think it was a macho thing. She just was falling to her knees a lot and just didn't realize that
Yeah.
eventually it is going to start to bruise up and hurt.
Yes.
But
Oh
yeah, overall
man.
they were really, really good.
Oh, fantastic, man. I'm glad to hear that, because again, you never know, right? You never know what to expect, or you hope for the best, prepare for the worst, right? When you're meeting, especially with Hollywood actors and stuff, you never know, right? So,
Yep.
um, now I will ask you this too, because you've touched on it a little bit, so we don't have to spend a lot of time on this question. But when it came to executing the stunts and having the stunt performers work with the actors and you working with the actors as well, um, How much rehearsal time and practice walkthroughs would you say you did with them on the Scream 5 stunts?
It was always kind of a point of opportunity thing based on the schedule.
Okay.
But I don't know that we ever had a ton of rehearsal time. I think we sent David the video of the fight because I don't remember if he was available to come rehearse it. And it wasn't heavy choreography. It was more just kind of rough and tumble than technical, Jackie Chan type choreography. But I know that anytime we needed rehearsal, we got it. I just don't have a memory of we had like fight camp, so we'd bring 2 at a time and in prep, and get people just moving with the weapon, stabbing, being safe with your dance partner.
Yes.
But yeah, there was never. I think the Dewey fight with Ghostface was probably one of the most involved things. I'm sure we did get rehearsal time with him, but I just don't remember the specifics of it. I know we probably sent him the videotape or the previs just to get his notes, get his feedback. I think on the day he might have changed a couple of things. Just had an idea of why don't we do this instead of that, and it fit in really nice. And he's a good mover. He does good.
I like him. I've never, one day I hope to eventually, bucket list items, would love to have him on the channel. But yeah, everything I've ever seen him do has been, I'm talking about like interviews, things like that. He's always really seems chill and just a cool guy to hang out with. I mean, that's kind of the vibe I've always get from him, and you're right. He's physically, he has a lot of physicality.
Yeah, I had just watched the documentary he had done on wrestling, probably 2 or 3 weeks before we shot. Yeah. So when we had to do the fight stuff, I was almost embarrassed to say, David, do you want pads? Do you want to go into a pad, knowing that he'd taken far bigger bumps and far bigger hits in the wrestling world than he would on set. But yeah, really, really good dude.
Fantastic. Well, all right. I'm going to ask you just a few more questions. We are going to have to start wrapping up, guys. Unfortunately, we got about 10 more minutes with John. So again, I'll say kind of like last call for the next 10 minutes. If you do want to get your question in, this is the time to do it. Super chats move to the front of the line, and we'll get to as many as possible. So be sure and submit those now with your Scream 5 questions for John. Now, I have to ask you, do you have a favorite kill or a favorite stunt in Scream 5 that you look back to and say that was the one that's my personal favorite?
I had pitched an idea when I met the guys, my first interview. I said, how violent do we want to get? And they're like, well, why do you ask? I'm like, well, when you see a throat cut in a film, and I've always hated it because it's never correct. It's like the blade drags across, but then it just starts bleeding and you're cutting the windpipe. And so I had told them about this really brutal clip that's online called Unknown Russian Soldier. And it's the days of LimeWire. Do you remember that?
Oh my gosh, barely. Yes.
Peer-to-peer stuff.
Right.
Someone had told me about LimeWire and had sent me this clip, and it's this poor soul getting a blade stuck in his neck and then ripped forward.
Oh,
so the windpipes, you hear this gurgling.
Yeah.
So I told that story to them, just how violent do we want to get? And I'm just met with blank looks. They're like, you saw a clip like that? Why would you want to watch it? I'm like, 20 years ago, I was,
right,
intrigued by the violence. But in our previs, which I'm going to try to send you some of these. I just finding them.
Oh,
we
nice.
stuck the blade in and then had her rip it out and had him bleed out. And so they were like, that's interesting. But on the day, they just did the drag across. So, yeah, any particular kill? The kills were pretty routine. And I don't mean that in a bad way.
Yeah.
It was just more the performance Probably the scene with Melissa Barrera and Ghostface in the hospital. That
Okay.
first attack, that got insanely violent.
Mhm.
Because Keith Ward was Ghostface and Melissa was like,
Mhm.
come at me. If I get past you, you have to stop me or I'm going to get past you. So we knew that Keith had
Wow.
to get heavy handed with her.
Yeah.
And that scene, I probably like that the best because it just was so visceral and so violent. Not the kill, because there was no kill, but just their
Mhm.
movements. They were
Yeah.
really good dance partners for each other. In one of the
Okay.
takes, the knife flew out of Keith's hand, and we had to use a real knife. It was dulled, and the point was brought down, but it was still a real
Mhm.
knife.
Yeah.
Keith swung so hard that it flew out of his hand, went
Oh
flying, and we were
no.
like, "Oh no!" But no one, no one was there, and it just showed the level of violence that he brought to that scene. And then after
Man.
that, we had to put stickum on the handle because the gloves were a little slippery.
Wow.
But yeah, I think that scene was
Okay.
probably just how raw it was. And Dewey's
Yeah.
double blades.
Oh yes, yes, that's
I
right.
wish I'd come up with that, but it was already scripted.
Mm.
So
Yeah, that was such a violent kill with cutting him up all the way up the stomach, organs falling out on the floor, just like, oh my gosh.
we did a previs for that. And again, I knew the boys had a sense of humor. So in the script, it says he's told them you got to shoot him in the head.
Yep.
So in our previs, I'm walking up. I was Dewey for the previs, and I'm loading the gun.
Mm-hmm.
And you all of a sudden you hear the Friends theme song. So it's Gail calling Dewey. So in the world,
Yeah.
he had a Friends ringtone, and then
Yep.
we had Gail's picture pop up, and they thought that was really funny. So it didn't make any sense, but it was funny that Dewey would have a ringtone that was Friends theme.
Oh, that's awesome. Now I want to flip the coin on you, John. And we just talked about your favorite kill, favorite stunt, but let's flip it now and say, did you have a stunt or a kill that was your least favorite? It could be from just the concept of that kill, or just execution, or just your least favorite to have to set up to do any of that stuff, just in general. Do you have one of those?
Yeah, I didn't like the throat cut.
Oh, right.
I thought it was just not a cop out, but I just,
Yeah.
again, in my way, I thought would have been way more violent. I don't know that it would have gotten
Yeah.
past the board, and
True.
that might have been too big a prosthetic to build that the boys didn't have time to make something really good.
That's
So
possible too.
what they did was fine, but I was just
Yeah.
disappointed that we couldn't have made that a little more visceral.
I got you, man. No. Hey, and speaking of that kill, the Richie kill, that's Melissa, right? Slicing Richie's throat.
Yeah, she's bound on
I
top of him.
Right. That's right. One part of that scene I love. I'm like, oh, this is so different for a Scream movie, was when Ghostface stabs him through the cheeks. Now, I'm like, that was just incredible. And tell me about that. How did that come together? Was it kind of like earlier with Tara in the hand, like this, with the no blade? Is that what it was?
Yep, and I think we might have done a reverse shot on that as well. So when it
Okay.
comes together, it feels like it's a harder impact
Yes.
going through. But yeah,
Wow.
just combination of vis effects. They might have. No, I'm thinking of the kid that's the sheriff's son gets killed.
Oh,
And
that's the one through the neck, real slow.
yeah,
Yes. Yes.
I think Rick Poor, who was the makeup designer, they did have a gag for that, a rig for that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember if we could actually run a blade through, but I do know there was a prosthetic that I think might
Okay.
have been enhanced in post. I thought that one was pretty good because it was uncomfortable to
Yeah.
watch, because just imagine how bad
Yes.
that would hurt, having a blade
Oh,
come
it's
out.
so slow too, John. It's like,
Yeah.
it's not like one of those quick stabs through. Like, it's just slow, man.
And a note for that scene, and the actor's name is escaping me, but
Oh, it's oh my gosh. Hey guys in the chat, come on, give me what's his name on the actor. I know
13
it.
Ways to.
Yes.
He's in that. Yeah.
Yes, and it's on
Really
the
good
tip of
guy.
my tongue. Okay.
So he's going to the door, and the take you see, I think, was the first take. They had
Oh.
told Paul Burke, come up and sneak up on him, because when he turned, the shot was
Okay.
just supposed to be over. So this actor
Ah.
didn't know Paul was going to be behind him, and I don't think he'd seen Ghostface and Ghostface Mask yet. So Paul gets there, gets right up on him. When he turns, the reaction you see was genuine because, thank you, Dylan.
That's it, Dylan
He
Minette.
wasn't expecting it, so that was pretty good.
Now that's a nice little bit of trivia. So that's an actual true reaction when he turns and like jumps. Oh, that's great. Well, there you go, guys. We got a little information. Yes.
Do you want me to text you this Michael Myers previs thing?
Could you send it to my email? Is that possible? That would be even better. Thank you. And then just the last couple of questions I have for you tonight. First of all, we do have a super chat. Let's get to that. Stella G sending in a $5 super chat again. Thank you, Stella. Says, according to IMDb, I see you worked on Weapons, which is a movie I've been looking forward to. How was it working on that film?
So I was only there 2 days, and I was just a stunt driver. So I didn't really get to see the behind the scenes. Glenn Foster was the stunt coordinator. Really talented guy. He was played a character in Quantum of Solace, and he got to say the greatest lines, Bond and Mom. So Glenn actually plays the guy Bond fights in that construction scene. But yeah, I was only there 2 days, so it was fun for me. I had just an easy day of just doing some driving.
Okay, then. Well, hey, you still worked on it on the project,
absolutely.
So you contributed. Thank you, Stella, for your super chat and question. Real quick, Amber, 26 months now as a channel member, says, "Hey, everybody! Thank you, Amber, for your monthly faithfulness. That is incredible, really is." All right, guys, we're really gonna wrap up now. We got just a couple of minutes left. I'll ask you this in closing for tonight, John. What do you find most fulfilling, perhaps, or exciting about being a part of the Scream franchise that is so important to so many people? It's a franchise, including myself, my favorite film franchise of all time, and those movies just really I connected with and bonded with. You're a part of that now. You're in the alumni. How does that feel? Just knowing that. I mean, you've worked on some amazing films. Don't get so you could probably feel this way for a lot, but specifically for Scream, do you have that special feeling about knowing that you're a part of that franchise?
Yes. Again, being a huge film geek, I was giddy. I'm going to work on Scream 5. And then when Scream came out, just the loose connection to Kevin Williamson eventually with Dawson's Creek and Vampire Diaries. And then, Scream 5. Probably one of my top 10 favorite films is the original Halloween. I'm a huge John Carpenter fan. So I'd have to put Halloween at the top. But the Scream, Scream 1 was just so original.
Original.
A big Wes Craven fan.
Yeah, I was going to say.
So
I named my channel after him as an honor of him with the last name.
it was cool. My daughter Bianca's getting in the stunt business, so she got to work on The Waterfront, which is a Kevin Williamson project. But the first AD on Waterfront went and did Scream with Kevin. And I had said, hey, if there's any way you can get my daughter on as a PA, she just wants to learn. Well, she was on set for a month and a half and got to, it was really good. She is now a huge Scream fan. In fact, they're doing a re-release tomorrow here in town, and we're going to go see it.
Oh, how cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So it's good to be part of even if it's peripheral. Like I wanted to put the mask on and do at least one kill because I wanted to go to the conventions. I wanted to be one of the Ghostface killer, but
That's right.
sadly it didn't happen.
Oh, well, it hasn't happened yet, but Kevin Williamson did Scream 7, and he may be back for Scream 8. I believe we'll get it. I believe we'll get another one. So, you know what? Never say never, John. Right? Never say never, man.
Well, I was up for 7 for a
Okay.
brief moment.
Oh, really? Oh, man.
I mean, it was supposed to shoot in Wilmington.
Oh,
So it was going to
okay.
Waterfront would end, and then Kevin would jump right over to Scream.
Okay.
They went with Jennifer Badger, who again is an incredible stunt coordinator, but she had doubled Courtney on 2 and 3. She worked on 5.
Yep.
So I still got to work on it, but just for a minute, I was being considered, and it wouldn't have worked out anyway because the Waterfront overlapped. I wouldn't have been able to break away, but it, to even be considered is, to be in good company.
You betcha. And again, another connection, another door. Who knows when Scream 8 rolls around, what's going on? So I'll keep my fingers crossed for that. 100%. Well, guys, listen, I want to thank you, John, for tonight. Everyone, please go bookmark his website and go check out what he's doing over there. It's really cool. And of course, Instagram. Follow him on Instagram. Stay in touch with what he posts, and let's support him as much as we can. We know he's officially part of the channel family now, and so appreciate you guys doing that. And John, I want to thank you again for your time tonight. This has been, man, there's so much more we could say. I mean, just so much more, but this was a great time. I hope you enjoyed this evening as well.
Unbelievable. Thank you for having me. Quick picture.
Yeah.
So the picture of me is with Ghostface in 21. I don't know if you can see it.
Oh, wait a minute. Is that? Oh, wait, I got that one. Hang on, John. I got that's the umbrella shot, right? I meant to show that.
Well,
here we go. Is that the one?
Yeah. Well, my daughter got the same exact pose with the same exact umbrella with Ghostface.
Oh, cool.
So
yeah, I see that. Yes, that's fantastic. That's so good, man.
Yeah.
Wow, that's are you real quick? Are you excited, nervous for her? All of the above.
I'm more nervous of just the uncertainty of the business. Like this year's really dead everywhere. It's just, and nobody, there's really a lot of guys are like, when is my phone going to ring? Because it's been so slow.
Wow.
So just letting her realize that that's the nature of the business. But she's a D1 athlete, track and field, cross country, runs marathons. So she's disciplined, very disciplined.
Yes.
And she's a really hard worker. She worked on Scream 7 again for about a month and a half, was working 12-hour days and still running 15 miles at night and then getting up early and doing it all over again.
Man.
So, yeah, I think she'll be fine.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
it sounds like she's got nothing to worry about. And
knock wood.
Right? And she knows who to call, who's been around for a little bit. So
exactly.
All right. Well, John, you just hang tight. I'm going to meet you backstage again.
Copy that.
Yep. I'll be soon. Hang tight. Everyone else, though, thank you for being here. Thank you, Julie, for I'm Sarah and Julie and Val. Thank you for moderating tonight in the chat. And for all of you who were able to give super chats, thank you for supporting the channel. And of course, the gifted memberships as well. Much appreciation. I'll be back soon. You guys know it. Hang tight. Be sure you got the bell notifications turned on. And until next time, this is Craving Something Scary, where it's all horror all the time. Good night, everybody. Thank you, John. Hang tight.
Yep.